manufacturing your own energy and how different that might feel tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it just, for me, I went to, I was in Tokyo for the Olympics and hardly any fans, mostly just, media and officials, no fans. So it was very empty. And then obviously all last year, other than the last couple games where we had maybe, 5,000 fans, whatever it was. So it's been a long time. I went to a Padres game like in September. It was sold out and it was almost like sensory overload. It had been so long since I felt that energy and it was incredible. And so now that I felt it a few times, Giants game and then our first game in LA at Staples, first exhibition game in Portland was packed and loud. It's just, you can't replace that energy. It's so important. It's so great. There's a connection between our players and the fans. And so I can't wait for tonight and the whole season, just knowing that we're going to have some semblance of normalcy out there.
Steve, after the last over to your right, you mentioned you've got a ton of everybody on the roster can play, and you've got 2 hurt guys who are going to come into this at some point. Yeah. Do you already have to start thinking with Mike, or even tell the players? I know you've a little bit that you might have to rotate some guys in and out. There might be games where they just don't play, even if they're one of the best 12 players. Is that kind of already on your mind? I've
already talked to the players about the whole concept of strength in numbers and where we were 6 years ago. I've made them aware that there were nights that John Livingston or Leandro Barbosa did not play a ton, if at all, and those guys are were 15-year great players. So this is what it takes to be part of a special group, and it's not easy on anybody, but that's what it takes. So the answer to your question is yes, I've talked to them, but I also know the season has a way of sort of ironing some things out. You almost always have some injuries, knock on wood. Things happen and everybody ends up getting their opportunities at some point. And if everyone just commits and sticks together, then the whole group can be really happy. And that happened here for many years when we had all those deep teams early on.
The NBA's official 75 came out. Clay and Draymond weren't on it. Clay's already kind of disagreed with it. I'm sure Draymond probably will tonight right there. What do you think about that at all, or just like where those guys stand in history?
Yeah, it's just looking at the list and then thinking about the history of the NBA. How do you differentiate? It seems like, I looked at it, seems like there's sort of 50 or 60 guys who are kind of automatic, and then you're just you just pick one, and you can't go wrong, or you can't be right, depending on how you look at it. I definitely think both guys are top 75, just based on winning and two-way basketball and everything that really matters. That matters more than statistics and anything related to numbers. What matters is if you're winning championships, then that's what counts. And so I would have hoped and thought that both guys would be on there.
Steve, hey, don't look at the score over there.
Did not go well.
It's not going well already. What else is new, right? Back to the home opener. It's been such a weird 2 years since this building opened. And the first season was, you guys didn't look like the team that had played across the bay. Pandemic last season. Does this feel like a reboot or the real start of Chase, maybe?
The real start of
Chase Center.
Yeah.
With specifics to the home opener tonight, when the lights go down and they announce the starting line, can you recall what that was like for you as a player? I know the Chicago Bulls, they ran that all the time, but like, what is that moment like a couple minutes before tip off and then they turn the lights back on?
Raymond asked me just a little while ago, very seriously. He said, opening night. He said, do you have any memorable opening nights where you had, had a big night? And then he quickly said, oh yeah, you didn't really have very many big nights. And then typical Raymond fashion, he burst out laughing at his own joke. So, but he was actually strangely correct in that assessment. So, yeah, opening night is always really fun. There's just extra jitters, and then you settle in for the marathon, and the games come left and right. But the first night in Staples was special. It's great to come out with a win. It just felt good, and tonight's going to feel great to be out there in front of our home fans for the first time.
Steve, I know you were expressing amusement the other day about Steph saying that he played like trash, even though he gets a triple double. But how do you think that self-criticism has propelled him into being the player he is beyond, the obvious talent?
Yeah, I mean, he just holds himself to a really high standard. And so it drives him every day. He's a student of the game. He knows his place in the game, but he barely had a scholarship coming out of high school. So he's got this great combination of earned confidence, earned swagger, but deeply rooted humility based on his background and what he had to do to get here. And it makes for a wonderful combination of someone who is a star on the floor and just seems like one of the guys on the team. It's a great dynamic for your best player to have that sense of humility. So Steph is very unique. There aren't any players like him in the league, but there aren't many stories like his. Someone coming from seemingly out of nowhere, as a senior in high school, being 140 pounds or whatever he was, and hardly anyone recruiting him to now being one of the great players of all time. That doesn't happen. So I love the story, but I love the person that has been forged out of that journey.
I mean, he has obviously had such a tremendous career, but what do you expect we'll see out of Steph this season, knowing what he showed last year coming off his injury, but also putting into context of what the roster around him looks like this
Yeah,
season?
he's going to have a great year. We have more spacing than ever. I thought the other night was a good example of what can happen if a team's going to blitz him the entire game. We've got weapons around him, not just shooters, but passers. We scored 121 points on a night when Steph shot 5 for 21, on a night when I didn't think we played particularly well. I thought we had a good stretch in the second half, good fourth quarter, but we really did not play our A game and scored 121. That bodes pretty well. This is a different team. It's going to complement Steph really well. And the beauty of Steph, literally every possession, he is the one who's generating the shot, whether he's making shots or not. He's coming off. People are double teaming him. He's the best in the game at getting the ball out of the double team, and then it's 4-on-3. And so he can call his game trash all he wants, but he's the reason we got all those open looks in the fourth quarter.
Hi, Steve. Law Murray at The Athletic. Speaking about not just Tuesday night, but you guys had 2 preseason games since the Clippers' last preseason game, and they haven't played at all. All they've been doing is looking at your team just run up and down the floor, racking points up. What were your impressions of what the Clippers are trying to do? Because they're trying to also increase their pace, but it seems like they have a while to go with that.
Well, they got some new faces, adding Bledsoe. Hartenstein has played really well in the preseason for them. And then they've got the standbys with PG and Batum and Reggie Jackson, who had a great season last year. And they have the continuity with Ty, having been there now this being his second year. So they're going to be a formidable team. They'll be tough, without Kawhi. Just like we were a tough out last year without Clay, because when you've got continuity and you've got high end talent like like we had with Steph and Draymond, and they've got with PG and Reggie. I mean, it's they're going to be a good team.
At shoot around, Juan said, you talked to the group and said, you want them to dominate at home this season. What does domination look like to you?
To me, it's execution, because in order to pull the crowd in and take advantage of the energy, you just have to execute. And if you execute and you get, open looks as a result of that execution, then the crowd's going to get going. And, then at the other end, you just got to defend and not give away the easy stuff. So that's where we were for many years at Oracle. We were tough to beat. Obviously, we had a lot of talent, but we just didn't give away games. We made it tough on everybody coming in. And that's the idea. If you want to be a great team in the NBA, you need to control your home court. So that was the message today.
Steve, I was talking to a former player earlier today, and he was saying that winning on the road, winning your opener on the road, especially against a division or a conference favorite, is probably the best way to open a season. Is there any momentum you can gain from 2 nights ago?
Yeah, there's confidence to be gained. We're a team that has a lot of new faces, and even though we had a great camp and great preseason, it still needs to click once you start for real. So I thought that game, especially because we didn't play that well in the first half, to win the game and play well in the fourth quarter should give us a boost. But we got to back that up and gain some momentum here at home. All right, thank you.